Hello everyone, welcome to Intellify. Today we are going to look into laws of inheritance. This is a topic from class 10 science. Before going to laws of inheritance, we should know what is inheritance. Inheritance is defined as the process of how a progeny receives genetic information from the parent. Progeny can be of humans, can be of plants, can be of animals, can be of anything. Every progeny receives the genetic information from their parents. Whole process of heredity depends upon inheritance. Keep in mind, heredity is different from inheritance and it should not be confused with inheritance. And it states that heredity depends upon inheritance. How can we simply define inheritance? Simply, inheritance is the process by which members of a family possess similar characteristics. Members like brothers, sisters, siblings, cousins, etc. possess similar characteristics. It is due to inheritance. Now, who is this Mendel? Gregor Johann Mendel was a scientist who studied at University of Vienna. He started growing peas at his monastery and kept a count of individuals exhibiting a particular trait in each generation. This helped him at the principles known to us as Mendel's laws of inheritance. Basically, he's a scientist who formulated the Mendel's laws of inheritance. It is with those laws the topic of inheritance is known to us. And how did he do that? He did that by growing peas at his monastery and kept a count of all the number of peas, plants exhibiting the similar character, like how many plants are tall, how many plants are dwarf, how many plants are round, how many plants are wrinkled, etc. In each generation. He kept the count throughout generations after generations, and that helped him to conclude those all in three laws, which are Mendel's laws of inheritance, and we are now going to look into them. Before that, just take a look at these pictures. The picture A boy with has a boy with open earlobe, and picture B has a boy with attached earlobe. Why does this happen? It is because these boys inherited different traits from their parents, and thus the earlobes are different. Now, if we look at the Punnett square here, it describes about a height of a pea plant, and the capital T are alleles that represent tall plant, while small t are alleles that represent dwarf plant. How it is drawn and why should we draw that, etc., will be looked into using the Mendel's laws of inheritance. Three laws of inheritance. First law, law of dominance, and law of segregation, and next law of independent assortment. We will look into each of this individually. First, law of dominance. It is also known as first law of inheritance, and according to law of dominance, hybrid offsprings will only inherit the dominant trait in the phenotype. What does this dominant trait means? What is the phenotype? Phenotype is the trait which will look like, that is expressed physically. Example, we can see a plant and we can say that it's tall or it's dwarf. How can we say that? Because it is a phenotype of tallness. And the alleles that are suppressed are known as recessive traits, while the alleles that determine the suppressed trait, dominant trait, are known as dominant traits. What are these dominant and recessive? If we look at the example previously, the tall plant is a dominant trait, while the dwarfness is a recessive trait. And because of that, all the hybrid offsprings, the offsprings that are produced by crossing the tall plant with the dwarf plant, express tallness because tallness is a dominant trait. Law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment is also known as second law of inheritance, and it states that a pair of traits segregates independently of another pair during gamete formation. As the individual hereditary factors assort independently, different traits get equal opportunity to occur together. Basically, it states that the color of a plant has nothing to do with the height, and vice versa. The height has nothing to do with the shape of the pea, and each of the trait assorts independently to the progeny. Law of segregation. Law of segregation is also known as third law of inheritance, and it states that during the production of gametes, two copies of each hereditary factor segregate so that offspring acquire one factor from each parent. In other words, allele pairs segregate during the formation of gamete and reunite randomly during fertilization. If we look into the example, there the tall gene that consists of alleles capital T and capital T, while the dwarf gene consists of alleles small t and small t. During the gamete formation, the alleles get separated into capital T and capital T of tall plant and small t of dwarf plant. And each allele, capital T from tall plant and small t from dwarf plant, segregates independently and together to the hybrid plant. And the one offspring consists of tall t, capital T, and small t from dwarf plant. Thank you, everyone. We'll look into other topics of this chapter in the upcoming videos.